Well, good evening. I called the regular meeting for the Ames Area Metropolitan Planning Organization Transportation Committee to order. Good evening, everybody, and Happy New Year. And we only have 3 items. First is consent. Do anybody have any questions on consent? Otherwise, entertain a motion approving consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Item 3, motion setting January 27th, 2026 as a public hearing for amendment on FFY 2026-2029 TIP. So Kyle, Barb, Justin, I'll turn it over to you.
Yep. This is an amendment request. So the MPO received 2 separate requests, one from the Iowa DOT for one of their projects, and then another request from SciRide. And so what the tip is, just as a quick refresher, is it's a 4-year program where all transportation projects in our MPO area that are federally funded are programmed. So it's almost like similar to a CIP, but for federal transportation projects in the region. And it can be amended if requested by an agency between the annual updates of the program. And like I said, we received 2 requests. The first was Iowa DOT. So they previously awarded around $16 million in what are called NEVI funds. So that's National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Funds to various private entities to install EV charging stations along the interstates in Iowa. And one of those sites was within our MPO boundary. And in order for that project to access those NEVI funds, because they're federally sourced, they're supposed to be included in the Transportation Improvement Program. And again, since it's within our MPO area, that means that it should be included in our TIP. And they requested to add that project in. That project is on East 13th Street. It's where the Quality Inn currently is at that property. And again, this is state awarded funds and privately funded with local match. So this has no impact on local funding or on funds that the MPO awards with its federal programs. So that's the first request. It was basically to add that project in. I'll pause here if there's any questions on that request before moving on to SciRide's request.
Any questions?
So who decides where this charging station is located?
Well, I know all the private entities all submitted applications to the Iowa DOT, and then they kind of awarded them like any other project. It's just in this case it was private entities instead of public agencies. And then I believe it still went through a review process with like our planning department as far as the actual on-site specifics of where the charging stations will go. If that answers your question.
Yep, it does. Thanks.
Any other questions? All right, second request.
Yep. So the second request was from SciRide. And so they have 38 buses that are programmed in the TIP between fiscal year 26 and 27. And those are programmed there to compete for federal funding. And the Iowa DOT recently released updated programming guidance, which reflected the rapid increase in the cost to procure buses and purchase buses. And so the buses were previously programmed using the old guidance, which was quickly outdated and was not sufficient to properly fund a bus. And with the new guidance coming out, SciRide was wanting to reflect that and update all of the buses that are programmed in the near-term years of the TIP. And so this request is basically to match the Iowa DOT's funding guidance so that should they be awarded funds for the buses that are included in the TIP, it'll be at an appropriate level. Because if the federal funding was not adequate, the local match would be required to make up that difference. And so this is basically just to match the updated cost of buses is really what it is. And we have Barb here if there's any specific questions on that, but that's what that request is for. And that's on the transit side. So again, transit's a little different. It has different funding sources. So this has no impact on the MPO's federal funding programs and nor local match for roads or bicycle type projects. So I guess I'll open it up to questions.
Thanks, Kyle. Questions?
It's been a while since we've had any updates in terms of the stability of federal funding for transportation. Are you hearing anything that would be helpful for us to hear in terms of any potential cuts? Does it seem like everything is going to be stable for the foreseeable future?
On my end, there hasn't been anything too new since we last updated the committee in September last year. I think the latest is all the formula funds, so like STBG and TAP that our MPO receives and can award to agencies. That's still staying the same. Nothing's been impacted. I think some of the competitive national grants have been kind of moving around and changing names and whatnot, but I think the level of funding has stayed the same for the most part there. So that's kind of the latest we've heard, at least for that. I don't know if you've heard anything, Barb, on the transit programs, but that's what we're seeing on roadway and bicycle pedestrian type funding programs.
No, I echo what you said as well. I am going out to DC tomorrow, so I might know a little bit more. So I'll be there tomorrow through Friday, but we're hearing formula dollars will likely stay the same. Discretionary grants, again, might move around, but again, they're discretionary, so it's very competitive anyway. So we don't typically, while we program and think about that, we don't ever commit any funding until we actually receive a discretionary grant.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions?
Anita, I know you already moved on, but did you get the answer to your question about the buses?
I did. Thank
Okay.
you very much.
I apologize that I
Oh,
didn't
no.
get it sooner.
All right, is there a motion setting January 27th, 2026 as date of public hearing for amendment to the FFY 2026-2029 Transportation Improvement Program?
So moved. Second.
Those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. All right, policy committee comments. Emily, you're on. Anything today?
She asked you to say it again.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just asked you, do you have any comments? Thank you. All right, anybody else? All right, entertaining a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. We are adjourned. Thank you. City Council for Tuesday, January 13th to order. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
And we'll move on to consent. Is there council wish to pull any item from consent tonight? Hearing none.
Move consent.
Betcher,
Aye.
Junk, Corriere,
Aye.
Rollins,
Aye.
Beatty Hansen,
Aye.
Garten.
Aye.
Thank you. Susan, I can't hear Rachel or Emily. Is there a way to somehow get their, if you can maybe just check with the media. Thank you. All right, we'll open up. This is public forum. This is time we set aside for comments from the public on topics of city business other than those listed on the agenda. Ask people to limit their comments to 3 minutes or less. Is there anybody that wants to address council tonight under public forum? If you please come to the podium and state your name.
Members, my name is Julie Tigas, and I live at 3110 Letty Street here in Ames. I want to start by telling you that I came here tonight with a completely different statement prepared. I was not planning to ask you for anything. I was simply going to make you aware of what my family has been going through. But in just a matter of hours, everything changed. Yesterday afternoon, Todd's doctor told us that Todd is in heart failure. We were told his time is now measured in weeks to a few months. There's no gentle way to hear that, and there's no way to prepare for it. I'm standing here tonight, still trying to understand how our life became so small so suddenly. Tyson is Todd's dog. Tyson is being held by the animal control. But Tyson's so much more than that. He's a comfort. He's Todd's routine. He's Todd's grounding. He is the quiet presence that helped Todd breathe through the pain, fear, and exhaustion. When Tyson was taken and ordered to be euthanized, something in Todd changed. I watched it happen. His health declined, his spirit dimmed, and now I know how serious the decline truly is. Tyson's not a label. He's not a file. He's not a decision on paper. He's a living being who has been a part of our family and a part of Todd's survival throughout his illness. I know that the animal shelter's website says that euthanasia is a last resort. I believe that and I trusted in that. But I know now that euthanasia is not a last resort. In our case, it's pretty much a first. It's just the first thing they've come up with, and they won't come off of it. I have offered every single proposal I can imagine to offer to them. We've offered board and trains. We offered to relocate. We've offered to, I even offered to have a trainer come live with us for 14 to 30 days so we could be trained as well as Tyson. He had some bad behavior. I'm not making light of anything that he's done. He's had some bites, a nip. I call them nips. Their bite because none of Tyson's incidents have even met the city's own definition of serious injury. And yet the most severe outcome is still on the table. While a dying man is kept apart from the one source that brings him comfort and peace. I'm not here tonight to argue law. I'm not here to place blame. I'm here because time now matters in a way it didn't yesterday. At this point in Todd's life, we're asking for Tyson to be with him. It's not really even a request, or it's not a request for special treatment. It's just a plea for dignity, a plea for kindness, and a plea to allow a man the comfort that he deserves. I'm not asking you to intervene, or I'm just asking that you would even direct those in authority to intervene before the irreversible harm is done. And there's no turning back. Because once this time is gone, there's no policy, no procedure, no apology, no procedure, no anything that's going to bring it back.
Please draw your comments to a close.
Yes. I love the city and I respect each of you and the roles that you serve in it. And I'm asking only for compassion, for proportionality, and common sense to be allowed to guide the path forward before irreversible harm occurs. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you.
Good evening, council members. My name is Michelle Griffith, and I want to thank you for the opportunity to express my gratitude for your service to the community and also my concerns regarding the financial well-being of the people of this community. Over the past 20 years, property taxes in Iowa have risen more than 107%, according to the Iowans for Tax Relief Foundation. This is far in excess of the cumulative inflation in the same period, which was about 66%. Therefore, much of this tax increase is a direct result of rising local government spending. And this is where you come in. I'm asking you to give serious consideration to placing a property tax cap of 2% on your entire budget from this point forward. And this goes for local school boards and county supervisors as well. A spending increase cap of 2% annually would treat all taxpayers fairly and help protect property rights. Government should be at the service of the family and not the other way around. While we all enjoy having beautiful buildings for swimming and entertainment, some of these items are non-essential luxuries that families with children and those on fixed incomes often cannot afford to utilize. When these luxury items are being considered, please also consider that every dollar you ask homeowners to give to the city is one less dollar going to help their children and grandchildren and grandparents, one less dollar for families to spend on food, education, clothing, and healthcare needs, one less dollar that will be available to help support local charities and churches, one less dollar to support and care for elderly parents and grandparents, one less dollar supporting the local economy. I see large amounts of money from your budget going to construction companies and landscaping firms and furniture suppliers, and I wonder how many families are going without new furniture, unable to afford landscaping or care for their yards or even maintain their homes. I wonder how many have been forced out of the housing market altogether due to the high cost of housing and the ever-increasing property taxes. Those with many children who need a larger home are paying exorbitant rates. And those with many children also have to work long hours or several jobs to the point they're not physically and emotionally available to give their children the attention they need, leading to poorer outcomes for the children's long-term emotional and mental stability. Some of those on fixed incomes are forgoing food and medications to pay their property taxes, and some are losing their homes. We recently moved back to Ames. One of the first groups who contacted us before we even had our house set up was the City of Ames Assessor's Office. How about that for a welcome? Now that you're here, let's see if we can squeeze more money out of you, even more than what the previous homeowner was paying. It would sure be nice if the city had a different way to welcome newcomers. In closing, I ask that we work on finding ways to ease the financial burden on all who are struggling to make ends meet, but especially young families. Families today are burdened by ever-increasing food costs, medical costs, and housing costs. Many young parents I talk to are experiencing great stress as a result. How about we cap spending and leave more money in the hands of parents who know better than any government what their children need? Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Good evening. My name is Caitlin Leanne. I'm also here speaking on behalf of the Ames Climate Action Team tonight. I think the last time I was at council, I spoke about how we were very happy and pleased to see that the city council was moving to put an end to the waste to energy system and how this was going to be a good thing for Ames moving forward. Since then, I've been in the community and I've heard from residents that are very confused about whether or not resource recovery is going to continue with these changes. And a lot of them have expressed like they're kind of sad that it's happening. And I thought it would be really important to come to city council, not to educate you guys, because obviously you're very aware of it, but encourage you to educate more of the residents about these changes and the good things that are coming from it. And then I would also just briefly like to add that the Ames Climate Action Team, we have a lot of different people that work from various backgrounds as volunteers to get information together to educate residents, as well as to come to city council and advocate for some of these changes. And so we have a blog that's on our website. If you just Google Ames Climate Action Team, we've got some information on there to help you understand what these changes mean for Ames and why they're good things that are happening. The second thing I'd like to just briefly touch on is I've also heard a lot of rumblings in the community about data centers. I don't know that there is any specific developments or discussions that are happening right now with the city as far as allowing a data center to be built. I know we have maybe a couple small ones already in the community, but given our proximity to other similarly sized communities such as Altoona, who also recently just obtained a large data center, and I think it's even expanding there. I just want to express how the Ames Climate Action Team, and I feel like residents would want you guys to heed and maybe think through some of these commitments that we might be making in regard to welcoming a large data center to our community. I know there's a lot of industrial developments that are open currently that I'm sure are prime real estate for places. Ames has a great community. We've got Iowa State. We've got a lot of reasons for people to develop here. However, data centers through research are overwhelmingly, there's a lot of implications on the environment, such as wastewater from the cooling systems that they run, the heavy load on electrical grids, the lack of economic growth that they bring. Sure, it might bring some people to our community to help build them, but over time, they bring in their own people. A lot of these corporations like Meta, Google, and Apple, and there really wouldn't be much of an economic benefit to Ames other than potentially taxes and some other things. But I think it's worth heeding, you guys. I don't know that there's actually any specific conversations being had, but because this is something we keep hearing about, we did want to bring it up to you guys that we would encourage you all to think through and think about maybe setting up some studies that might need to be done on the impact of the environment, depending on where they would want to develop. And then also definitely hearing from community members and people with that expertise. And I think that's all. Thank you so much for your time.
Mayor, can I ask for just a clarification question? Okay. So I want to make sure I understand, Kaylin, that you feel like the city is not properly educating the public about the new plans on waste handling. But I apologize, I did not understand what we're not educating about. Could you just clarify that?
Yeah.
I want to make sure we capture that.
Yep. So I've heard from a couple residents that think with the end to the Arnold O. Chantlin facility and the waste to energy and burning waste, because that's what's done there, that they don't believe we're still going to be doing resource recovery. They believe that everything's just going to be landfilled, which is true. We're going to be landfilling instead of incinerating, but we're also doing a lot of waste diversion. And so I think just educating them that there's probably even going to be an expansion in this new facility because of the size of it. And I know that that's an issue that we've had out on the current facility, is that it's the navigating to get there to do drop off of recyclables deters a lot of people from using it.
Okay.
Whereas I think this new facility, I think that that'll be something that they have in mind to make it easier for residents. So my understanding from what I have heard from residents directly in the community is that they believe there's not going to be the resource recovery recycling piece of it.
Okay, great. Thanks for clarifying
Yes.
that. That'll help us.
You know, it's our PIO, our Public Information Officer, Susan. Go ahead and chat with her.
Okay.
She can probably, I think they're trying to do a good job, but if we're failing, I'm sure that she can go ahead and provide information or find out how else we can reach out to people, because we want people to know what's going on. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Anybody else under public forum? All right, we'll close public forum. Move on to item number 21.
Good evening. So for item 21, we're here with the development agreement that we first brought forward to you in November.
Is your mic on, Kayla?
Hello?
Yeah, it's better.
That's better.
Let me clear my throat. Sorry. So for item 21, is that better now?
Thank you.
Item 21 is an amendment to a development agreement for cost sharing on the extension of Southeast 3rd Street. In November, we brought this forward at the request of the property owners on both sides of Southeast 3rd Street. The city originally had planned to, at our sole cost, extend the street as part of a larger project that has since been determined not to be necessary at this time. So we are being asked to share in a small extension of around 150 feet with a cost cap of 50% or $30,000 based on actual construction costs. Staff is supporting this as being consistent with the original intent of the agreement, where the city did believe they were going to do the street at our sole cost, and this would be a cost savings in terms of actually doing the full cost of the street, but it does help assist the landowners move ahead now. if you did not choose to do this, it would be the landowner's obligation to make the street improvements.
Thank you. Questions? All right, open public comment. Does anyone want to address council on this topic tonight? Seeing none, we'll close public input. Is there a motion?
Move alternative one.
Which is to approve the agreement.
Yes.
Thank you. Roll call.
Junk. Corriere. Rollins.
Aye.
Beatty Hansen.
Aye.
Garten.
Aye.
Betcher.
Aye.
Thank you. Item 22, request to initiate Greenbrier Commercial Area Comprehensive Plan Amendment.
For this item, you have a request to initiate the comprehensive plan amendment process. So we're not officially approving anything tonight. It's a function of whether you allow for this to proceed through the public hearing process. So on this layout here, you have the future land use map from Ames Plan 2040, and we're talking about this red square NCMU here in North Ames. And the proposal is to relocate that square, not necessarily in a square, in the look of a square, but to relocate the about 8 acres of commercial area to this corner up here. When this plan was created, that with the land use classifications, you can see that there's a little bit of a stub of a street right here that is intersecting with the planned extension of Stang. Over time, we determined that there wasn't a feasible way to make an east-west connector through the Hayden's Preserve site, but we did leave this commercial node here as part of our land use plan, even though there isn't going to be a long-term east-west street connection, because it really fit with the RN4 land use designation. The RN4 is a unique designation for our growth areas. You can see around it is RN3. That'd be your traditional FSRL and FSRM zones that we've been developing in for the last 20 years. RN4 is an attempt to take a little bit closer and more refined approach to the neighborhood development of really focusing on smaller blocks and walkability. The commercial node isn't necessarily designed to meet some kind of compelling retail or economic interest. It's a function of there's some market to support this commercial, but we think it can help in the configuration and the layout of the neighborhood. So that is why we originally had this out here, and the intent with the combination of the two designations. So the developer is asking to move it to the northwest corner of their site, principally out of the desire to be at the higher volume intersection of this area. So GW Carver is the highest volume street in the area, and it will be in the future. So even when Stang Road is extended, GW Carver will carry about double the traffic, at least it's projected to carry about double the traffic of Stang. So we're talking about a road that's in the 7,000 to 8,000 car range, and then Stang would be in that 3,000 to 4,000 car range. So from a long-term perspective, there's definitely more traffic and higher visibility. I think for staff, our comments are that we think that the RN4 was specifically designed to address housing diversity. And our main concern is not necessarily the function of the commercial, but do we accomplish our other goals related to housing? So RN4 is on purpose designed to have a little bit higher density than RN3. We expect apartments, we expect attached housing, we expect detached housing to all be combined in this area. So for us, if the NCMU was approved to be moved, we think it's still critical that the developer accomplishes our housing diversity goals, even though there's not going to be the kind of classic center of the neighborhood with one identifiable area that you could really say, well, here's the center of the neighborhood and we're going to radiate out. So it'll be a bit of a challenge when you start to move that commercial node to the northwest, and then how they'll integrate different types of housing into this area. But that's something I think if you're confident can be done and still want to see done, you could move ahead in the process to evaluate that and look at how the neighborhood commercial would fit at that corner, and then how would we work into the other housing types that we want to see in this area. If you do not believe that moving the commercial out to the corner and not being centralized, if you want to keep it in this kind of layout, then you would not move ahead with initiating the amendment. The applicant who's here can also speak to this. They noted that they were not maybe interested in doing commercial at all if it stayed in the middle of the site. If that was the case, you could also consider changing it to all residential and having no commercial. Their clear preference is to have commercial, but to move it out towards the higher volume street. Is there any questions?
Thanks, Kelly. Question?
So it would move the whole chunk.
All in their proposal, there would be no central commercial elements whatsoever. It would all be moved to the corner of Cameron and GW Carver.
Other questions?
And just to clarify, Kelly, that would place it on the opposite side of GW Carver from the commercial node that's associated with the bluffs.
Correct. So there's about I think ultimately there's about a 6-acre piece of land that has 3 commercial lots on the bluffs at Bank Bar Farms. The corner piece will be a convenience store. And then there's 2 other lots that are left on the west side of that commercial area.
And that is the intersection where we've been having discussions about
Correct.
the roundabout versus turn lane and traditional intersection.
So in the development incentives discussion in December, GW Carver Cameron was one of those pioneer infrastructure elements that got discussed, and council asked staff to pursue a roundabout option for that intersection. The developer's aware that we're going to move towards that. They're not concerned that a roundabout changes the desirability of the corner, whether it's a signal or a roundabout. And also staff is confident that it doesn't change the function of the intersection either, whether the commercial is here or somewhere else. So it's going to be more about like the land use compatibility and then how does it work as a neighborhood development overall.
Other questions? Rachel, do you have any questions? Thank you.
Are there any like limitations or parameters as to what kinds of commercial use would be on this property?
So if we follow, this will be a little bit of a work in progress as well. So if you had standard zoning, you would do what's called CGS, which is mostly retail, restaurant, office, and it could allow for convenience stores, which is what's across the street at Dank Bar Farms. I think in this case, either through the master plan process, you would want to refine the layout of that commercial, that 8 acres of commercial, to understand building positions and the types of uses specifically. Or we might need to use the PUD process, which also gives you the site plan review and the architectural review and the use controls that are probably what's necessary. I expect that we're going to do a PUD for Greenbrier no matter what. It's a question of how the commercial is zoned, whether it's in the middle or whether it's at the northwest corner, how that's incorporated into the zoning for the property.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, open up public comment. Does anyone want to address council on this topic tonight? Chuck?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Chuck Winkleblack, Hunziker Companies, 105 South 16th Street. Just wanted to, Kelly really laid out the description or reason. We don't believe that the commercial area is viable in the middle of the subdivision. Even today with Somerset, with Stang going through Somerset, some of the potential businesses are concerned about the average daily trips going up and down Somerset. When you get up in here on a 2-lane road with around 3,000 cars a day, that is not feasible for most businesses to consider going there. So Kelly's right. We wouldn't do it if it was in the middle of the subdivision like that, but we do believe we have viable options for the corner of the intersection there. And we also agree with Kelly that we would want to work out, because that is going to be, whether it's a roundabout or a traditional intersection, we'll need to plan the commercial areas and as the lots for access points as Stang comes, as it intersects with GW Carver. So we're supportive of the agreement and just wanted to make sure that you're aware that we, just as a practical matter, would not go forward with commercial in the middle of the subdivision, but do believe that it's warranted and viable at the corner. Happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Chuck.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else want to offer comment tonight on this topic? All right, close public input. Any closing questions, comments? Otherwise, entertain a motion.
I don't necessarily mind this, but I would say I think I see what staff is getting at in terms of that. RN4 is supposed to be walkable, sort of village center-y. Like, it maybe will be hard to achieve that if the goal with any business you want in the area is car trips going by, right? So there's a kind of competing goals there. RN4, that's supposed to be walkable urban. So really your commercial center is supposed to be, the walk-in traffic is supposed to be the draw there. Now, it might be the case that no such business exists, for that level of business, right? So but anyway, but I see where Kelly's coming from too there with that.
All right, entertain a motion.
Just want to clarify an alternative one, if that's the motion. It does require per the implementation chapter that the applicant does have a neighborhood meeting. So we do have that as part of when it's a more significant comp plan amendment, that a neighborhood meeting is led by the developer before we get to public hearings. The idea was we need to have more public outreach before you get to hear, and your first chance to comment is at the end of the process. So the applicant would have to schedule that at some point in this process.
I did have just one question on I think we heard from the developers that there's really not much clarity yet on RN4 because it hasn't been written yet. Is that right? And is that in the work plan to be doing?
So RN4, I would say, I think I mentioned this, that if you were to literally try to implement, you can see it on the map here. It's Somerset designation with village zoning.
Mm-hmm.
No one expects village zoning to, at least I don't expect, I shouldn't say no one, I don't expect village zoning really works here because it's not designed to be that kind of a mixed use neighborhood. I expect it's going to have to be a PUD, which means it is going to have to be custom to that area. I don't think there's value in trying to write a zoning district for this property because it is the only property that is currently in the comp plan with this designation.
Got it. All right.
I think the PUD is the only efficient way to deal with it. Okay. I think the hard part is taking the words of a walkable neighborhood with diverse housing types and how diverse, how walkable is really the question. So there's a big difference between how the FSRL RN3 stuff looks and when you start to see the pattern of Somerset, or you look, I mentioned Prairie Trail, parts of Prairie Trail. So we're not trying to necessarily replicate the large villages, but there's diverse housing types there that we don't see in FSRL that I think is really the goal within RN4 plus your standard housing types.
And the applicant's been interested in, or is receptive to PUD development. Is that right?
Yeah. They are. I mean, I don't know how else that we would approach it. So we've had conversations. I just don't have a layout that we can say tonight is for sure going to be how the project moves forward.
Thank you.
Kelly, I have one other question. It seems to me, and maybe I'm remembering wrong, that when we had the discussion about the potential roundabout and the further outreach by staff, that Greenbrier was not going to be part of that discussion. Am I remembering that correctly? That it was mostly the bluffs that was implicated in the
You're saying about how is the improvement allocated within the development
Yeah.
incentives? There's a combination here. So the bluffs, absent a roundabout project that the city led, if that falls apart, the bluffs has an obligation to do widening on their side of the road. Ultimately, when Greenbrier builds, there's some corresponding improvements on GW Carver that would also need to be done in that corridor along with the Stang extension. So if there's a roundabout project, we solve it all at one time. If there's no roundabout project, it's going to be split and dealt with as it's demanded to be addressed with development.
And does moving this commercial node potentially change that picture?
We don't think so. So at this point, we've seen a preliminary traffic study. We don't think if the commercial node is on GW Carver or not, it's going to change the improvements that are required on GW Carver and Stang. They should be the same regardless of that land use because there'll be access management and how cars can approach the site.
Thank you.
All right. Entertain a motion.
Move alternative one, initiate developer application for comprehensive plan amendment to relocate the NCMU area to the intersection of Cameron and GW Carver.
Thank you.
Second. I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Gloria, you got a second? All right. Those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Thanks, Kelly. Move on to item number 23, Fish Family Indoor Aquatic Center proposed fees and facility hour update.
Yeah, thank you. So staff back in December of 2024 provided council a report regarding the operations of Fitch Family Indoor Aquatic Center. A lot of that information is included in this current report that you have tonight with some new information. Some of those things in regards to hours of operation. There is a outline within the report of a breakdown of what those schedules are anticipated to look like for the summer season and the in-school season. The 2 seasons for Fitch Family Indoor Aquatic Center. That was mainly developed from the community input survey that was distributed back in November of 2024, where we collected over 2,100 responses. The other thing is the fees and charges. The fees and charges that were previously included in the report in December, those have not changed. One item that is new is an additional pass. So previously we had the Furman Aquatic Center pass and the Fitch Family Indoor Aquatic Center pass. An aquatics facility pass has been added, which would be a year-round pass and would be eligible to be used for both Furman Aquatic Center and Fitch Family Indoor Aquatic Center. And then also, since we're at a stage in the project, a lot of efforts have been also focused on staffing. So to provide a quick update on that, we have hired, and these positions have started, 2 full-time positions, an aquatics coordinator and a principal clerk. We have also started recruiting for the part-time and temporary staff for the aquatics portion, so lifeguards, swim instructors, shift leaders, etc. We've had a total to date, those opened at the end of October. To date, we have had 54 applications for those positions, and that will both serve Fitch Family Indoor Aquatic Center and Furman Aquatic Center. We are also hiring for desk clerk positions. We have a lead desk clerk, which we've received 6 applications for, and the desk clerk position, which we've received 28 applications for, and those just opened at the beginning of the new year. So working on those fronts. And going back quickly to the hours of operations, one thing I would want to note is that to avoid any confusion, during the summer season, Fitch Family Indoor Aquatic Center will not be closed. There will be operations still going on within the aquatic space with the focus of the seasonality of Furman Aquatic Center. Focusing efforts on those to have that full operations. We will still have aquatic operations at Fitch, including water walking, lap swim, some aqua classes, addition to what we offer at Furman, and swim lessons. But we will also have non-aquatic related programming going on there with the multi-purpose rooms with fitness classes, the walking track, and etc. So just wanted to clarify those points, which is outlined in the report, is mainly focused on the aquatics portion. And I'd be happy to entertain any questions.
So I'm glad you clarified that. I think there has been a little bit of confusion. So to summarize, it's not like it's just primarily open swim is being kind of eliminated from Fitch Family during the summer, and because you can do that at Furman. Is that correct? That'd be a simple way of saying it?
Correct. Yeah, the Furman Aquatic Center won't see any changes outside of all the swim lessons being now taking place at Fitch Family Indoor Aquatic Center, but you are correct. Yes.
Thank you. Questions?
So when we look at the potential fee scale, has there been any consideration to something that's in between the 12 punch card and the full year membership? And we have a lot of people who go down to Florida or out to Arizona for months at a time, or who are faculty members at Iowa State who might take a semester off and be out of town. And it seems like the 12 punches maybe aren't really going to work for them, but the full price also maybe overkill for those folks. I don't know whether there was consideration given to that or not.
Yeah, fair. It's actually some conversations that we've had of recent in looking at current operations at Furman Aquatic Center. We do have a end of season pass that we offer. So if somebody's not able to purchase the full summer season, there is an option later to still get a pass for a substantial amount of time that will cover a portion of the season. Something that was also offered at Municipal Pool while in operation, a pass that covered the January to May timeframe before the Outdoor Aquatic Center opened. And so there are some options we can explore to that. Yes.
So is that just basically prorating what the remaining time would be and charging that way?
Not necessarily prorating. So we have for Fitch, for example, we have the full, in the Tuesday after Labor Day to the Friday before Memorial Day. That offered us one pass to where we could look at different options and things we've discussed as far as, how long does that include, to where then if we did offer a January through May, making it comparable to the amount of weeks. So it was an equal offering.
Thanks.
Other questions?
Keith, I'm cognizant tonight because of the lady who spoke during public forum about the way we steward our tax dollars. We wouldn't be building a facility like this if we had a 2% cap on our property taxes. We wouldn't have any indoor pool. We wouldn't have an outdoor pool. We wouldn't have hardly any recreation facilities. But my question is specifically for people who haven't dialed in and heard you speak about how our philosophy on setting fees. Could you give us just a paragraph on what goes into that? Because we could say we're going to make people pay the full freight and it would be really expensive, or we could make it free and subsidize it all. Talk to us about, because I love the way you've talked about this in the past. Give us just that paragraph again on the philosophy of setting the fees.
Yeah. What we try to do is we look at a number of different things. One, we try to take a look at what are we doing within our own programs and other facilities that are similar to what we're going to be offering. We take a look at the surrounding areas, what are people doing, and so on. But we also, when we're looking at fees, what we try to do is we take a look at what can most of the people afford. All right. Through our consultants in the past, they always look at is you don't want to set your fees to what the people that are struggling economically. You don't want to set the fees to that stage because you're missing out on a lot of opportunity. What you want to do is you want to be able to set your fees where a lot of people can afford them, which is what we've done in this case. But then the key to it is how do you offer assistance to those families that need assistance? We have the scholarship program. We're still working through some of those details as far as is it going to be 50%? In some cases, it could potentially be 100% for some families. In other cases, maybe it's 25%. So we're still working through a few of those details. But if we were like with Homewood or the ice arena, which are enterprise funds and revenue covering the cost of expenses, if we were to do that with aquatics, there are very few aquatic facilities across the country that are break even or in that situation, covering all revenues, covering the expenses. So we try to find that balance, and those are the things that we look at.
And who pays? How do we pay for that subsidy for users of the pool? Where does that go in our budget?
So are you talking about the subsidy that we have here? So roughly the $300,000.
Right.
A lot of that will be covered through property taxes, and so that's where most of that is covered.
Right. Thank you.
But
Other questions?
I know that we talked a little bit about some opportunities for Parks and Recreation to investigate things like rounding up to raise more funds. Are you considering something like swim buddies or something where you can buy a pass for somebody else to bank so that the city isn't necessarily funding all of those as scholarship, but the benevolence of community members funds some of them?
Yeah, so we're working on our summer brochure, right now, which with all of our summer programs, passes, swim lessons, all those types of things will be in there, and that is something that we have discussed with those options. So look for some of those opportunities in that brochure.
All right, welcome public comment. Anyone want to address council on this topic tonight? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Any closing questions? Otherwise, entertain a motion.
We're actually really not looking for any direction from council on
You
this.
don't want a motion tonight?
Nope. What we really wanted to do is
That's
it was
right.
a year
Update. Thank you.
since we did, so we really just wanted to provide that update.
Yeah. Thank you, Keith. All right. Thank you for coming.
All right. Thank you. Have a good night.
All right. Move on to item number 24. Hearing on digital billboard lease agreement for Western Third of 731 Billy Sunday.
For this item, it's been nearly a year since we first approached you with this lease concept. And it was last February. Since that time, we've been working with Lamar to finalize the lease that details the ability for them to use part of the Billy Sunday property. In the meantime, you've created a zoning ordinance to allow for digital billboards. You have permitting processes and requirements that are in the zoning ordinance that will apply to this structure. You're really acting only as a landlord in this case. You are signing a lease to allow for something that must still be permitted by the city to be constructed. Today, I did forward you the signed lease. There was a revision to section 5 from what is attached to the report on Friday. That is a section that deals with, at the termination of the lease, the obligation to clear the site and make it whole, basically return it to original conditions. The terms in there were originally a 90-day period to do that. Lamar was concerned, depending on the time of year, whether that was feasible or not. So staff agreed to a 150-day window for them to do that. And then after 150 days, if they do not complete the process, we then have the right to go in and remove and dispose of the sign and then to restore the site. And the critical piece there is not just the right, but then we have the right to bill all of those costs back to Lamar, and that'll survive the termination of the lease. They would always be required to reimburse us for those costs. So that was the main change that was there. We also renumbered some sections that were out of sequence. So we're recommending approval. We think it's consistent with where we started originally last February in terms of the intent of the plan. You can see in the attachment the proposed location. There's a narrow slice of the property that meets DOT requirements in terms of distance from interchanges, and also meets Lamar's interest for visibility both to the west and to the east. So we did go out in the field, mark a location. We believe that DOT would approve this location. So that's why we've proposed the lease with the specific area that is shown. So it can't just go anywhere on that property. It needs to be within that envelope of space that's defined in the lease.
Thank you. Kelly, we had at least one email asking about light levels that were talked about and also size of the sign face. Can you just comment on that? It's not in the lease, but there is control on that.
Right. I'd have to look up the standards here if you want me to quote them, but we did establish within the zoning ordinance a maximum size, which is the sign that's proposed. It is it's kind of at the larger end of standard digital billboard signage. It's not the smaller, quote, junior version of the sign. It is the same size that we discussed back when we adopted the ordinance. Now, in terms of light levels, ultimately council did agree to implement what is a NITS standard, which is the admittance of light from the sign. It was originally, I think, proposed at around 250 nits. So we ended up, Lamar was able to agree that they could have a sign that is under 200. I think it's like around 180 for that light level. That's a setting that is built into the product when it's manufactured, is how Lamar has explained it to me. The zoning ordinance does require that when it's turned on, they do have to provide verification that the sign was installed per those specifications for that light level.
And then part of the agreement was that if this was approved, that they would remove the 2 signs on Lincoln Way. Is that in some kind of a separate agreement? Or is it?
So it is not an agreement with the city. So this lease does not address what Lamar would have to do to actually get a permit. It's the zoning ordinance that requires that before we can approve that permit to establish the sign, they have to eliminate essentially an equal amount of sign face from a non-conforming billboard. So those are located basically along Lincoln Way. There's 2 that Lamar owns, obviously on the Link site. And I have been told by the property owner and by Lamar that they have an agreement to remove those signs privately. But to actually get the site plan approved, then they'll have to actually commit to that process per the standards of the zoning ordinance.
Good. Thank you. Any other questions? All right, declare the public hearing on the digital billboard lease agreement on the western third of 731 Billy Sunday Road to be open. Jerry?
Jerry Neal, 916 Ridgewood. I just have a question. I was sitting back there thinking about the concerns of the dark skies people. And I apologize because I haven't read everything on this agenda item, but I was wondering if our work with the NITs and the limiting that also includes decreasing that at night, or if we've included something about dropping that down during the night hours. So there's different daytime hours versus night hours, and something that I didn't know. So I thought I would just ask about it.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you.
We'll get to that question after we close public forum. All right, public input. Anyone else want to address council? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Kelly, do you have any comment on that?
So the way the standard was written is the 160 nit standard is measured, is applied during the evening and nighttime hours from dusk to dawn. The way it's worded is you must certify that the sign has been calibrated not to exceed that light in an all white, so basically the brightest possible condition, as measured in those evening hours. There is no requirement to shut the sign off at any particular time during that.
And maybe just spend a minute or two just explaining this was not just an arbitrary number. It was pulled out. The staff worked with and did some research and provided information to substantiate the level of illumination and also compatibility with bird migration as well as some night sky. Is that correct?
Yeah, so when we did the zoning standards, you had a lot of testimony about concerns about migrating birds and other things. We didn't find at the time that we could say that a digital billboard necessarily affected. We understand light pollution. We understand that can be a nuisance kind of issue for migrating birds. We didn't find any resources that said in this particular setting it would be such an impact on wildlife. And then the NITS level originally, like I said, was a little bit brighter. The industry would prefer to be much brighter. We got to this number as kind of a middle ground between probably the lowest acceptable level. It's just it's somewhat above probably the lowest possible setting you could have, and what is a more moderate setting when we got to it's 160 nits is the number in the ordinance.
Thank you. All right, is there a motion on the resolution?
Move we approve the lease agreement with Lamar Advertising.
Thank you.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Corriere. Rollins.
Aye.
Beatty Hansen.
Aye.
Garten.
Aye.
Betcher.
Aye.
Junk.
Very good. Move on to under 25, hearing on the Story County Edge of Field project. Any questions for staff on this item? Hearing none, declare a public hearing on this project to be open. Is there anyone who wants to address council on the Story County Edge of Field project? Seeing and hearing none, declare the public hearing to be closed. Entertain motion accepting report of bids.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? Motion carried. Entertain motion on resolution approving final plan specifications and awarding a contract to Hands-On Excavating of Radcliffe, Iowa, in the amount of $292,849.82.
Move approval.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call.
Rollins.
Aye.
Beatty Hansen.
Aye.
Garten.
Aye.
Betcher.
Aye.
Junk. Corriere.
Thank you. About item 26, hearing on easement at 400 Friel Drive for resource recovery and recycling campus. Any questions of staff on this item? Declare the public hearing on this easement to be open. Does anyone wants to address council on easement for the new resource recovery and recycling campus? Seeing none and hearing none, declare public hearing to be closed. Entertain motion on resolution approving vacation of an existing public utility easement at 400 Field Drive for the resource recovery and recycling campus.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call.
Beatty Hansen.
Aye.
Garten.
Aye.
Betcher.
Aye.
Junk. Corriere. Rollins.
Aye.
Thank you. Well, item 27, Any questions of staff on easements at 320 Southeast Second, 405 Southeast Third, and 413 Southeast Third Street?
Mayor, we need to modify the recommendation on this one.
All right, please proceed.
So I've been talking to the representative of the property owner tonight and with Justin Clausen, Public Works Director. The report was presuming that ownership had transferred on the properties. And that was the justification or the rationale why we were doing this. That has not yet occurred. So staff's recommendation is that you should hold the public hearing and then close it, but take no action on the vacation until the final plat that would create the replacement easements has been proposed by the new property owner.
Okay.
So we can have the hearing, but take no formal action because we don't actually have the formal replacement easements available to us.
Okay. Declare the public hearing on the easements at 320 Southeast Second Street, 405 Southeast Third Street, and 413 Southeast Third Street to be open. Anyone want to address council on this topic? Seeing and hearing none, declare the public hearing to be closed. Entertain a motion, essentially tabling.
Yeah. So.
Or you want to just postpone until
Yeah. So
a future?
I'd say bring it back at a time when the final plat is available for council's review.
Okay. Did you catch that, Taylor?
Mhm.
All right. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Kelly. Move on to item number 28. Pa. She has a quick update on the personal transportation device. There's a
Yeah, so
motion that
good
was made last meeting.
Yeah, so at your December 9th meeting when this ordinance was brought forward for you for the first reading, there was a motion made to draft some language regarding the first offense on a lighting violation and to establish a period of time to allow the users to fix that. So staff has looked into this and have determined that a fix-it type language could be seen as discouragement from enforcing the law. And so in your packet, you have a memo from the city's attorney's office and the police chief about this, and therefore the ordinance that you have before you, the second reading, presents no changes. I will just note that when our police officers are stopping people for not having proper lighting right now, they are giving them a warning. They are letting them know, get proper lighting. They're not issuing citations. And then I will also just add that once these ordinances are fully approved and adopted and implemented, we will be pushing out a lot of educational materials just to let folks know what has been passed and the rules around that.
Any questions for Paul? Thank you. Entertain motion on second reading of ordinance modifying municipal code chapters 14 and 19 to address personal transportation devices.
Move on second.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call.
Garten,
Aye.
Betcher,
Aye.
Junk, Corriere, Rollins,
Aye.
Beatty Hansen.
Aye.
Thank you. Move on to item number 29. Entertain motion on second reading of ordinance rezoning a part of property located within the Iowa State Research Park located along South 530th Avenue from agricultural A to Research Park Innovation District RI with master plan.
Move on second. Second.
Thank you. Roll call.
Betcher,
Aye.
Junk, Corriere, Rollins,
Aye.
Beatty Hansen,
Aye.
Garten.
Aye.
And item 30, we entertain motion on second reading of ordinance rezoning property at 200, 204, 210, 214, 220 Southeast 2nd Street and 210 Sumner Avenue from HOC Highway Oriented Commercial to Neighborhood Commercial NZ with master plan.
Move on second.
Second.
Roll call.
Junk, Corriere, Rollins,
Aye.
Beatty Hansen,
Aye.
Garten,
Aye.
Betcher.
Aye.
And item number 31, entertain motion on third reading and adoption of ordinance number 4580 on zoning text amendment for landscaping rock mulch within required landscape areas.
Move on third. Second.
Roll call.
Corriere, Rollins,
Aye.
Beatty Hansen,
Aye.
Garten,
Aye.
Betcher,
Aye.
Junk.
Thank you. Move on to item number 32, rezoning with master plan for 23959 580th Street. Entertain motion on resolution approving the rezoning agreement for 23959 580th Avenue.
So moved.
Roll call.
Rollins,
Aye.
Beatty Hansen,
Aye.
Garten,
Aye.
Betcher,
Aye.
Junk, Corriere.
And entertain motion on third reading and adoption of ordinance number 4581 on rezoning with master plan for 23959 580th Avenue from intensive industrial to general industrial.
So moved. Third reading.
Second.
Roll call.
Beatty Hansen,
Aye.
Garten,
Aye.
Betcher,
Aye.
Junk, Corriere, Rollins.
Aye.
And item number 33, entertain motion on third reading and adoption of ordinance number 4582, modifications to municipal code, chapter 19, Parks and Recreation to clarify expectations of park use.
Move on third.
Roll call.
Garten,
Aye.
Betcher,
Aye.
Junk, Corriere, Rollins,
Aye.
Beatty Hansen.
Aye.
Thank you. We'll move on to disposition of communications to council. We have 10 different items. The first is an email from Caleb Rolfs regarding Welch Avenue improvements. Is there any interest in directing this to staff or just thanking him for his letter?
You had some specific suggestions in this, right? Is that right? In my memory, sir. I said there were some specific suggestions to be passed on in this letter, right?
About reduction of lighting in Campus Town.
Changing it to amber lighting or something like that, like the color of the lighting. Who would that be if we were to refer it for a memo?
Well, it's, the issue probably lighting has to do with safety, and over the years we've actually had recommendations to increase the lighting, not tone it down. So we'd have to look at the intensity of the lighting for safety purposes. It would suggest us we upgraded those. If you want to know, Don handles the light, the intensity of it, but it's the reason for the lighting is what you're going to have to deal with.
So I don't know if it's just changing the intensity.
I got the impression it was just changing the temperature of the lighting
Is that all it was?
rather than the brightness level. So you can have.
We'll have to contact the person then, probably.
Well, I mean, I guess.
What color temperature has to do with type of lamp, as you're probably aware,
Mhm.
and I'm not sure what kind of lamp that actually is out there.
Don can help us on
Yeah.
that. We'll take care of it. Just refer it to us. And if that's all you think it is, it's not the intensity of the light itself, right? Foot candles.
Right.
The brightness, which is important for safety in the Campus Town area.
Yeah, I mean, I think consistent lighting is important for safety. That's true. Yeah, for sure.
No,
So I'm not disagreeing with that, but I was just curious. I'm not necessarily. I guess I would move that we thank Caleb for his feedback, and just let him know that we will try to consider that when we're able to.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? Motion carried. Item 2 is an email from Eric Charter, Trip Street property manager regarding garbage issues. Is there any interest in referring this to staff?
I would move we refer this to staff primarily for number 1 of the suggestions, which relates to probably a letter of compliance issue for rental properties.
Is there a second? Move seconded by Amber. Those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. And then we have really four emails, different ones regarding traffic. One's one from Bonnie Alley, Mortensen Road corridor. Grant Olson sent 2 on intersection Lincoln Way, North Dakota, Thackeray Trail, and then Ryan Park on request stop sign at Westtown apartment exit. Is there any interest in referring one or few or all of those to staff for memo?
Steve, has staff looked at any of these just to see if any of
Not
them
yet.
had-
We might have already studied these before. That's why we'll have to look at it, refer it to us. if you
And-
want us to.
When we send these to staff, they don't necessarily conduct a formal involved traffic study. They decide if this is something that sort of passes an initial threshold
Right.
of, is this something that we should do?
It's easy to do the report back. If it takes a more extensive study, they'll inform you of that, and that you'll have to direct us whether you want to do that or not. So
So generally, I think our practice has been that where these seem like reasonable suggestions, that we send those to staff if it's not overly burdensome. So I would move that we refer all four to staff for review.
A second.
Okay. Those who have motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Number 7 is an email from Julie Tiggs. She addressed council under public forum. We certainly are saddened to hear the situation with her partner. But I think council saw that. I did respond to her, and I would just say, just follow up. I can follow up again with her and just say that no change in terms of the email I sent to her. That council has no authority to direct staff regarding that, and she's already taken it to the next level from a legal standpoint. So if that's acceptable, I entertain a motion to that effect.
So moved.
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Next is property owner request for zoning text amendment for encroachment setbacks. This is a memo from Kelly. Is there an interest in pursuing that? Otherwise, entertain motion on option 5, no action being taken.
I would move option 5.
There a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Next is from a memo from Kelly on a request for Plan 2040 amendment to land use classification for property within Boone County. Staff was generally supportive of this request regarding changing the zoning potentially to general commercial GC, but not industrial. And then the other part of that property would be rezoned residential. A question I had asked staff before the meeting was, could council just ask staff to reach out and find out if the applicant would be interested or receptive to a different zoning for that area, in other words, GC versus industrial, if that might affect your decision, because we do have GC on the west side of that property and there is residential on the east side, and staff is recommending or suggesting that a better transition might be general GC versus industrial.
they interpreting your letter correctly?
I think you're representing why we did what we did originally. And my concern was that if we do go to a different designation, how would that transition occur? I don't have that answer tonight. If it does proceed, I think that's something that has to be addressed. I have not spoken in great detail about potential users to understand zoning options besides what was described as generally I want to be able to do what else is already out here.
So I apologize. So would that person be interested in a different zoning classification or not?
I think we would need to sit down and talk about who his prospective users are and then decide where they fit within the eligible zoning districts.
But the memo does indicate that you would be more in favor of a GC versus an employment type of zoning. Is that correct?
Right. And then there's supposed to be a new zoning district written for GC that has not been done yet.
Okay.
That was more in between HOC and industrial designation. So a combination, kind of a light industrial or a heavy commercial, depending how you looked at that. That doesn't exist yet. Maybe that's an option. But we didn't go down that road into that level of detail without knowing if council wanted to pursue this.
Just trying to avoid putting something on the agenda that maybe council would prefer to go one way and the applicant would just say, no, I just want it this other way. And if you can get more information.
If you put it on agenda, I can definitely gain more information.
Okay.
Or if you want me to ask that first and then relay to you the communication, we could do that either way.
Steve, do you have a recommendation?
I think it's just let's get the information and then we'll get a memo back to you, maybe with some direction. What the response
You're
is.
just asking for additional information.
Rather before we put it on the agenda.
Okay.
Is that all right?
Is that acceptable to council? All right. Sure. Let's take a motion just to request staff for get additional information on this prior to taking action.
So moved.
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carried. Last is staff report on workforce housing division on Ontario Street. We need to place this on the agenda to discuss and give direction, correct?
Yes, sir.
Is there a motion to put it on a future agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. All right, report of governing body. Any report from Discover Ames tonight?
Nope.
Ames Regional Economic Alliance.
No.
Story County Emergency Management. We meet next Wednesday night for our budget session. Transit. Anything, Rachel, from Transit tonight? Thank you. Council comments. Rachel, we'll start with you. Thank you. Emily?
The joint meeting with state and government will be pretty quickly on March 4th. I'm pretty sure March 4th is the Wednesday, but I'm likely confused with March 2nd. I'm pretty sure it's March 4th. And then I will be back at the next city council meeting in person. I'll be back from that, so that's it.
Thank you. Gloria?
I've been watching what's been happening in Minnesota. It's my home state, and I just want to send my thoughts to the residents of Minnesota, especially Minneapolis, as they deal with the shock and the grief over the killing of Renee Good and the flood of federal law enforcement officers disrupting the safety of their neighborhoods.
Thank you. Amber, anything tonight?
And talking about tips, because we've had a number of conversations with developers, Steve had mentioned that we might request a tip guidebook, and that staff might be willing to develop that and do a workshop with us. And so I'm bringing that forward as a motion for staff to produce a workbook and or guidebook.
It's a guidebook,
and have
summary,
a
you know.
conversation with us about tip options.
Sure.
All right. There's a second?
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Anything else? Alan?
I just wanted to briefly respond to the speaker at Public Forum who was concerned about property taxes. I think she's gone, but I just wanted to say that I'm really proud of the way the city has handled its finances. I think we're very responsible with our tax dollars, and it is a hard balance. I'm not unsympathetic to people who already are having a hard time making ends meet and seeing their property tax go up. That is hard, and I think we're all sympathetic to that. Also, though, Ames has to compete in a lot of ways against other communities, and competing against other communities means competing with staff wages. It means competing with amenities. It means competing with all the quality of life things that matter to our residents. So we do try to be responsible with any tax increase that we put out there. So again, I hear where she's coming from. I'm sympathetic, but I would stand by our fiscal stewardship any day. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm glad you brought that up. I was going to talk about this just for a second. We're about to enter the budget cycle. This is the most important work we do. And if people have suggestions of things we should stop doing, let us know. You don't like libraries, you don't like Parks and Rec, you don't like having streets improved, let us know. So I've served for 12 years. I could not be any more proud of the work that our staff does. Ames is among the lowest in Iowa. Put this in the newspaper. The lowest in the state. This is verifiable in terms of our millage rate. And so we deliver a very high quality of services for a very low tax burden for our community. And so and I'm not criticizing this lady. There are lots of people that are frustrated about their property taxes. But if you don't understand this in the context of how local government services are provided, then you have, I think, an unfair perspective on this. So I hope this person will take the time to watch our budget, look at the way in which we go line by line through this. It's our most important work, and I couldn't be any more proud of the work our staff does. So just wanted to share those thoughts. Thanks.
Thank you. I'll just mention we have a MLK celebration next Monday night at the City Auditorium. Welcome everyone to come. And it's always a memorable time. So with that, Mark, do we have a justification? No, it's council justification to go into closed session.
Yes, Mayor, you do. Iowa Code Section 21.51C allows the council to go into closed session to discuss matters that are presently in litigation or where litigation is imminent.
Is there a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Fetcher,
Aye.
Junk, Corriere, Rollins,
Aye.
Beatty Hansen,
Aye.
Garten.
Aye.
Thank you.